Hello there and welcome. This is as always Mikhail or Michael speaking, and before I start this video I want to say thank you all who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your generosity, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Now today's video I will start in Zaporozhian front, to be more specific Robotyne direction, where all throughout last 24 hours Russian forces continuously assaulted Ukrainian positions within Robotyne village, from Novoprokopivka to the south, as well as from the general direction of Kapani from the west. With it, they also attacked around Verbove, generally all across this front, putting the entire Ukrainian defensive line here under great stress. And it seems that it finally cracked yet again, and it happened in Robotyne, as like previously, Russian forces were able to yet again re-enter the village and capture the better half of it, reaching its center for the third time. Here you can see exactly how much territories Russians were able to capture within the last 24 hours, and as you can see they regained full control over the important trench that is located to the west of Robotyne, which allowed them to attack the village and take control over this road. And as you can see, Russians were yet again able to recapture this important trench line located in the south of the village, which stopped them from advancing here in this area previously. Russians continue to increase their presence when it comes to aviation and conduct airstrikes daily. For example, here on this video you can see work of Russian aviation on one of the Ukrainian positions located in Zaporozhian front, where you can see deployment of FAB gliding bombs at the moment when they start to glide, to the moment when they reach their target. And as the situation continued to deteriorate for Ukrainians in Robotyne, more and more Russian airstrikes are conducted in the rear, striking upon Ukrainian positions located more to the north of Robotyne, in front of Оріхів, Novodanilovka, Malotokmachka and Novodarivka, in attempt to minimize effectiveness of Ukrainian reinforce and resupply systems, which at this point are only going by one road, which goes through the village of Robotyne and is now under great danger of Russian crossfire. For example, here on this video you can see Russian bombardment of Ukrainian positions in front of Оріхів with what would seem to be some type of cluster ammunition. The nature of those explosions tell that if there is any position located in this area, little to nothing will be left of it at the end of the bombardment. And again, as time goes by, more and more videos of Russian aviation being deployed for these kind of operations are surfacing, which is a sign that Russians started to use their aviation more prominently. And it's not like they're depleting their reserves, because it seems those are newly produced bombs. And if the war drags on, Russians will only increase production and usage of those aviation bombs. Again, just a reminder, the reason why Ukrainians continue to desperately fight for Robotyne village and for the bridgehead situated around it is due to them hastily constructing defensive lines not only in front of Оріхів, but also in the general Zaporozhye area, obviously expecting a massive Russian offensive here. Here on this video you can see those fortifications still in the middle of construction. This means that despite that Ukrainians are in a big hurry, most of the fortifications are still not ready, and Ukrainians will continue to throw fresh reinforcements into Robotyne bridgehead, trading lives for time. Now at this point, not only would I like to know your opinion on this whole situation around Robotyne and Оріхів, when will the village of Robotyne fall, how quickly Russians will be able to reach villages of Novodarivka, Novodanilovka and Malotokmachka, thus completely closing off this bridgehead and start fighting for Оріхів, because to me it seems that this is just a question of time. While at it, please consider supporting this video with a like, comment, and of course, if you haven't subscribed, a subscription. These actions help promote this video to a wider audience, thus helps spread the message. Thank you for that in advance, and let's move on. When speaking of general increasement of Russian aviation being used across the entire front, here I have a aviation strike on Ukrainian strongholds located in Vuglidar city. Here you can see this on the video. Like mentioned previously, Telegram channels are now flooded with Russian aviation conducting multiple strikes across entire front line, with those strikes becoming more and more prominent. And then from here let's move to the Novomikhailivka village and discuss the situation here. For now, it seems that Ukrainians were able to take control over the situation, as they were able to repel Russian attacks that are coming from the south in the direction of the very western outskirts of the village, as well as to its center within the village itself. But the situation quickly developed to the north of this village, as Russian forces were able to advance and capture about this much territories within the last 48 hours and enter these warehouses, thus initiating the fighting for them in order to capture them completely, reach this intersection and take control over this general portion of the village, and with it, about half of the town will be called under Russian control. Not moving far from Novomikhailivka, let's discuss situation around Russian captured village of Pobeda. All throughout last 24 hours and generally, ever since the village was captured, Russians continued their attacks in the general attempt to increase their buffer zone around the village, and as a result of these successful storming operations, Russians took control over this impressive chunk of territory within the last 24 hours, which, as you can see, has pretty massive tree lines, as well as a stronghold securing those said tree lines. Then from village of Pobeda, let's discuss current Russian storming operations in the direction of Georgievka. All throughout the last few days, Russians were actively storming this village in an attempt to reach its center and capture the village completely. Those attacks came from both sides of this pond, and although it seems that Russian forces were stopped in the south, in the north they were unstoppable. Here is exactly how much territories Russian forces were able to capture within the last 24 hours. With it, as you can see, Russian forces are near this important intersection, which will potentially allow them to attack in the direction of Georgievka center from the north in support of current Russian assaults that are coming from the southeast. And with attacks coming from the front, flank and rear, Ukrainian formations situated within and around Georgievka village will surely find themselves extremely overwhelmed and outnumbered. Then from Georgievka, let's visit village of Nevelske, which within the last 24 hours became an important war goal for Russian assaults coming in its direction from all possible flanks. First, as a result of successful offensive operations, Russians took control of this territory here, as you can see, slowly but surely enveloping Nevelske from the east, and 12 hours later, right about the time that I'm making this video, fresh reports suggested that Russian forces were able to successfully enter and capture Nevelske village. Then from Nevelske, at last let's visit the village of Pervomaiske, where in the last 48 hours situation quickly deteriorated for Ukrainian formations defending the village. Here Russian forces were able to successfully penetrate Ukrainian defensive lines to the north of the village and advance deep beyond those defensive fortifications, capturing these territories in the span of just few days. And as you can see with this recent territorial change, Russian forces are now threatening to split the village of Pervomaiske in half by reaching this road, thus encircling the entire Ukrainian army groupings that are currently defending the center of the village. If the situation is not to change and the Russian attacks will continue as they are, we might soon hear of Ukrainian withdrawal from this portion of the village, along still usable roads within the village itself, as well as along the E50 highway, as long as E50 highway, before it's going to be too late, and they will be encircled. So perhaps it is safe to assume that these territories will soon fall under Russian control, maybe within a day or two of them actively storming the village itself. If that is to happen, the fate of Pervomaiske will be sealed, and Ukrainians will be left with just a small portion of the village to defend, before they will be forced to retreat to a next village in line, which is village of Netailove. Again, like in the beginning of the video, I like to know your opinion on this whole situation, whether Ukrainians will be able to counterattack and save the situation, or will the situation develop as it is currently developing, with Russians capturing Pervomaiske very soon. With this I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.